Hey nerds, how you doing? Oh, fancy seeing you here on this bonus episode of Into the Wild. Do you remember when we said we'd be doing bonus episodes way back at the beginning of the year, and this is probably the second time that we've actually had a chance to do so? Life's very busy, but welcome to this bonus episode of Into the Wild. I went to go outside and go for a walk to record this intro, and as I did, the heavens absolutely opened, so I decided to record it from the safety of the Into the Wild studio with a decaf coffee instead, which is a lot more cozy and warm. So let me tell you what this episode is about, what you're about to listen to. It's just, to put it simply, it's just a lovely chat between two friends about allotments. It features a good friend of the podcast called Emma Brisdion, a science communicator, a naturalist, a presenter. She had a podcast called For What It's Earth. Please look it up and go back and listen to those episodes. They're absolutely fantastic. A podcast that gives you some direction on how to live a bit more ethically and sustainably in the home and, in your life. If you're looking to buy tea and coffee, what are the best companies and ways to drink tea and coffee and minimising your impact on the planet as well? Do check it out. It's a really fantastic show. Emma's also featured on Into the Wild before as well, and quite recently featured on our Nature News segment, talking on behalf of the River Trust, where she now works, sharing information about their citizen science programme that's been out, checking the state of the rivers in the UK. But on this episode, we are pretty much talking about food and allotments. Back in August this year, I went to go and visit Emma to go and see her allotment. Me and Emma talk a lot about growing veg, about gardening, and it was about time I went to go and see this plot of space she talks about all the time. So it's quite simply a little chat, a little catch up, walking around Emma's allotment, her telling us about what she's grown, how she's grown it, what she does with the food, and also what it's like having that kind of space and why we think those kind of spaces for people are important as well. So that's this bonus episode. Please enjoy, and I'll see you at the end.
Cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
How do you take your tea?
Just in a mug.
That can be arranged.
I tried the hands and it didn't work.
Any preference on mug?
Yes, I do have a
Beaver?
preference.
Do you want the beaver mug?
There's a beaver. What's the other
Or
one?
the other one's
Common
seabirds.
tern. Sandwich tern.
Yeah,
Never
they're-
heard of that before. Black-headed gull. Cormorant. Gannet. Get them on.
My friend got me that because I quite like cormorants. I think they're quite a prehistoric, epic-looking
Get
bird
them a
that
lot
you
in
can
London,
find
on the
in
canal.
in
But
cities.
they're everywhere, yeah.
Well, they're precisely they're in Bristol.
To the
Bristol
point, they're a
Harbour
bit
as well.
like, they've got the same rep now as like an urban fox for me.
Really?
Like I see them so much in
As
urban
in you just
environments
don't
that
care
when I see
anymore.
them on the coast, I'm like, what the fuck are they doing here? I brought the most underrated biscuit as well.
Do you know what? I'm here for those. I like an
like
underrated
them?
biscuit. Yeah, them and also ginger nuts.
Yes, I wouldn't say they're underrated.
Ginger
nuts.
I get bullied for my love of ginger nut biscuit.
Really?
And digestives. I love a simple digestive.
See, I know digestive's got to have chocolate on top. These are, for the listeners, these are malted milks. And they are just like, as well, the packet says light and creamy.
How about a rich tea? See, I
Oh
love
no, maybe
them.
I was thinking of rich tea when you said digestive.
Oh, okay.
I think I was. We're going to go down to your allotment.
We are.
I'm excited about this. I've heard lots about your allotment.
You have over the years.
Over the years, your struggles, your pains, your gains.
Yes. Yep. I think that looks like a good cup of tea either way.
That is a good cup of tea, it's banging.
Good stuff.
Yeah, you've told me a lot about your allotment. What am I going to see when I go down there?
You're going to see a lot of weeds.
Brilliant.
We're gonna-
That's a good thing.
Yep, sure. My yellow courgette is in full flourish, so you might see some small yellow courgettes.
Exciting.
You will definitely see a lot of weeds, and you will see the structure that I started to intend for one side of the allotment, and you'll see that structure slowly disintegrate as you progress through the allotment. It's been such a weird year for growing. It's just been soggy, kind of warm, but kind of soggy.
It's been very mild and humid, isn't it?
It's just been a real odd year, so I think I've probably got some powdery mildew coming along on some of my squashes because it's just damp, and loads of people at the allotment are getting potato blight. Potato blight.
I've heard of that.
But for tomatoes.
Oh.
Blight, I think they're the same family, so it affects both.
What does that mean? It just rots?
Yeah, it's an infection that basically causes early rotting, and it just ruins a crop. So I'm worried we'll find some blight on my tomatoes, but it'll be an adventure.
You look so
suppose.
anxious talking. You're like, we'll see something, and
you know,
hopefully it'll be
if
fine.
you'd come like 2 months ago, it looked so neat, and I was really proud of it. And it just looks awful. But you're a man who appreciates the sort of the messiness of nature, so perhaps.
I am,
maybe
but
you're
I
the right
do
person.
feel like sometimes people are too much on the side of, like, every garden should be messy. Like, they're still to be used. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be like a food-producing space.
yeah, so you need a bit of organisation there. Like, you
Yeah.
can't produce food in chaos.
Yes, I mean, you probably could. You probably could.
Well, you could produce it, but
try.
you couldn't.
But it
It
wouldn't
would be
be
hard
like-
to harvest and manage.
Yeah, I think when you're trying, like when you're actively trying to be like, okay, I'd like to try and eat only my vegetables this summer, sort of
Yeah.
thing, or I'd like to produce enough kind of courgettes and broccoli and kale and stuff that I don't have to go to the greengrocers. If you're doing it with that kind of intention, then yeah, you probably do need a bit more sort of structure.
Yeah, and also just to manage pests and stuff, because everyone, like, you quite often hear people go, like, the easiest way to, you were talking about like slugs and snails in your garden,
Oh,
and
so
we
many.
can't get the birds in, but also even if you could, I don't think that's the answer.
No, I mean, so for my garden, dear listeners, I'm very lucky to have 2 green spaces that I can grow in.
Yeah,
I've got a small garden.
the top 5% over here, look at her.
Oh Christ! I don't pay for a gym membership. I pay an allotment membership. That's what I say. I don't do any of those other wellness things. But the allotment is great for my mental and physical well-being. But I do have a small garden, but it's like we're on a hill, and so the garden is sloped, so it's kind of tiered. It's very damp. There are just so many snails and slugs, and it just means they eat everything. And this is the first year that I've managed to get squash plants actually beyond their sort of seedling phase to be growing.
Really?
So this is the best it's ever looked as a vegetable place. And you can see I've got some kind of purple climbing beans which have just about survived. But yeah, because it's damp, I just get so many snails and slugs. So I did put in a pond to try and sort of encourage frogs and things. And I do have frogs this year.
Do you?
Yeah, lots of little ones, but some of them are like the size of the snails, so I don't think they're going to be doing much beyond the like baby snail stage.
You're just going to see this like small snail moving from the inside across the...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that'd be horrific. Do you know what my nan used to do? She used to leave a pile of... I was going to say shit, but what I meant is like food waste.
Oh yeah.
She used to just leave it out on the garden, so the slugs and snails went over to that because it was easy grabs.
Oh really?
So it just kind of like she put it in the corner
A
of the garden.
distraction.
Yeah, just like in a bare bit of soil in the flower bed. You just put it kind of like potato peeling, stuff like that there.
Do you not end up with kind of like rats and foxes and stuff that maybe were attracted to?
Not as much as I remember that she was like, oh shit, we've got, water ship down in our garden or anything.
Oh my god, that was such a traumatic film.
Don't even know why that was in my
I have
head.
no fond memories of that film. I cannot remember what happens in that film. I just remember being petrified of it as a child.
You used to get hedgehogs.
Oh,
You couldn't have hedgehogs in your garden, could you?
no,
It
nobody's.
has to be mountaineers.
It's a bit sloped, isn't it? Yeah, it's a little bit.
Well, it's beautiful,
terraced.
but it's not like you wouldn't see that and go prime hedgehog.
No, but I'll tell you what though, I have seen a deer somehow in next
No,
door's
what?
garden. You know where we are. We are in like the middle of a city. And a baby deer was in next door's garden.
What?
We're in a terraced row which backs onto another terraced row. I don't to this day
Did a buzzard drop it or something?
I don't know. But honestly, Mark and I were both like glued to the window upstairs, like creeping on next door's
That
garden.
is
So we were like, how is that
insane.
here?
How did they do it?
Where has that even come from?
I'd be setting up a camera trap.
Yeah, in next door's garden. All right, don't mind me.
Without permission. So, no dig, no chemicals across the entire allotment.
Yes, them's the rules.
Them's the rules.
Them's the rules.
Do
And-
not
and
you
we stick
you
to
put
it.
a shovel in that ground, Bob, and you're off.
Unless you're getting a parsnip out, mate. Jog on. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, of course. Imagine if the no dig was that strict, you couldn't even harvest your own root veg.
Yeah,
Nope.
because it's kind of it's
Should've
a
done
really
it in
good
buckets.
bed of clay under here as well. So actually getting parsnips out is pretty tough.
Okay,
So you
actually,
would-
yeah,
would
you're
need-
right. It's quite. No wonder it's no. I've had no dig look like a no choice.
No, yeah, it's actually quite tricky. Right, this is my plot.
This is beautiful.
Thank
We've
you.
got some
This is-
nasturtiums.
This is the bit where I remember I said you'd see the start of my progress plan.
Oh, and
So
then
these are my neat beds,
right, and which way?
and then it sort
does
of
digress?
drifts. It sort of drifts.
Because I won't lie,
then
either
I-
side was a.
Yeah, no, we're ignoring that side. For now.
Okay, that's not there. Cool.
That bit has got taken over. Then this courgette has just decided, fuck the bed.
Yeah,
I
no,
will
no reason.
sprawl.
Yeah,
So it's kind of drifted.
and I'll
then,
grow leaves and nothing but leaves.
just tons of leaves. It's huge. And then I did have garlic and things in, but these have come up.
And that's already done now.
So I need to put some other stuff in. And then I had lots of potatoes as well, but again, those have come up. And then I found this like really weird and wonderful wrought iron. You can't see it. It's currently under a mass of beans, but this weird wrought iron sort of climbing frame that somebody left out in the street the other day, and I was like,
oh yeah, I can see
I'm having that.
Yes. Love street finds.
Yeah. So I've got purple beans.
Are you going to send me on my way
like
with some produce?
I do have beans and a courgette for you.
Yes. Let's start with, tell me why you grow veg.
I grow veg. Well, do you know what I think? I used to say that I started in lockdown, and then actually my parents reminded me that when I was young I used to try and grow things on my windowsill in my bedroom. Like I would try and grow carrots in like a Ferrero Rocher tub, and they've actually got an apple tree in their garden which I grew from seed.
Really?
Which I'd forgotten about completely, and it's first starting to crop its apples like in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So I think it's always been a part of me in terms of like what I'm interested in, but I think it's very much like an instinctive connection to like land. But also these days, I think we're so disconnected from land and where our food comes from, and this understanding that what we put into our bodies doesn't need to come wrapped in plastic from a supermarket where it's been shipped from like Spain. So that's sort of what started it, and I just find it immensely satisfying. I'm like, if I made a dish with a courgette that I'd got from the supermarket, I wouldn't think twice about the dish. But then I'm here like growing a yellow courgette, and I'm like, the courgette has to be the centerpiece. It is the main character of this dish. Oh my God, it's because I've grown it and it's amazing. And like I really celebrate the food that I've grown, which I just don't have that feeling
from
for.
the supermarket.
Yeah.
Do you find you use, not necessarily use more, but you actually use more of the veg when you're growing it yourself? Do you find you have less waste?
Yeah, possibly. I think so. I mean, one example of that is I grew loads of purple sprouting broccoli, which was again because I was like, oh, I can never buy purple sprouting broccoli. It's so expensive.
Tories.
And it was the best. Well, precisely, yeah. But it was so good. But I'd never thought before. I was like, oh, I can use all of the broccoli leaves as well, like kale.
Yeah.
But the leaves don't come with the broccoli when you buy a broccoli in a shop.
No.
But when I had the plants here, I was like, oh, I've got loads of kale for my salads.
There's so much of that stuff though with like growing veg. I found like there's certain bits of it that you can actually eat.
Yeah.
Like even with regular broccoli.
Broccoli.
Where
in West Country have you been?
Yeah, I've been here half an hour. Regular broccoli, you can still eat like the leaves and stuff like that, almost like a salad kind of thing. It's so nice.
Yeah, they're really great, like wilted into things.
Is it as wholesome as and peaceful as you say, or?
I mean, there are stressful periods.
Do you find yourself
there is
staring
a war
at your
on
patch?
slugs, you know? It depends, because the thing is you also become very finely tuned to the weather and the climate, which again is I think another reason why I like it. So I can tell you what the weather the last 3 summers have been, not really through personal entertainment experience, but through personal gardening experience.
Yeah, okay.
Which is maybe a bit lame, but you
Gives
really
you
do get like, oh my God, it
year
hasn't
on year.
rained for a week.
Yeah.
I need to then go and spend an hour watering this plot, and it's going to be really heavy and it's going to be really hot, or like I've got to make time before work to cycle here, and you know, it can become a chore, but I do think it's quite rewarding. But as you can kind of see today, like I haven't been on top of my weeding so I've left it for a bit too long, and now the chore is massive and now I don't want to weed.
How often do you stare at your patch and just shout the word yield?
Yield? No, I yell crop at it, but I like yield. Yield's better.
Yield, it sounds more like a yield, damn it!
Do you want to yell that at my courgettes for a bit, see if that works?
I want you to become the person of the patch.
I like it.
She's shouting at her veg again.
Yeah, well, there's like a 200 strong WhatsApp group of people that are on this like allotment.
I need to know more
maybe
about this.
I'll be the one that like, that weirdo yelling yield at her courgettes again is back. I don't want to be that person.
Is it more, and I don't want to make it political.
Bath is a Lib Dem stronghold.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I don't
know.
But
the vibe. Not like where do they vote, but like what's the vibe?
But I do think the vibe is.
You said there's like a sharing like over crop.
Yeah.
How often do people actually put in that?
Loads.
Really?
No, do you know what? Actually, okay. In that case, I've shifted my mentality. I think the mix of people here are a bit of all sorts, but the mentality that has been like decided that this allotment is very like sharing, community led. It's very, I would say, very red. So the sharing shelf is for anyone, even if they don't have a plot here, to access food if they need it.
That's
and
really
once
lovely.
a week we do this thing called crop drop, where local food banks come and we put specific boxes in the sharing shelf where everybody donates their food with the purpose of it going to the crop drop.
Yeah.
And then they go and make food at local food hubs. It's either given away to families in need, or it's like dishes are sort of produced.
Yeah, that's nice that you get that kind of vibe. Do you think like because you know, and I don't know, allotments kind of have the vibe, I still think, whereas, you know, they have that kind of openness, that community. But I still feel like some people might not feel like that's for me kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
I can totally imagine that.
Do you think like how do you think you kind of battle that with an allotment? Because like you said, it is a space. I mean, obviously you've got the financial aspect.
Yeah, so I mean, I've already shared with you that this is more expensive than a council allotment. I couldn't get onto a council allotment.
No, God, I can't in London.
Yeah, and it's even worse in London.
No.
So yeah, no, this is £20 a month, and as I've said, I have that instead of going to the gym or doing any other wellness things. That's my but I appreciate that is a lot over a year. I don't know how you address that, because it's really hard to sort of convince landowners to do this. If a farmer has a field that is producing, how do you convince them to turn it into a different type of profit-making venture, such as an organic no-dig allotment, but then also have the cost low enough to be really, really accessible?
And to actually tick the boxes it needs to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this one has a couple of community plots that are like set away for social, like schools and things. So I think if you can bring school groups and children in and teach them that this is the sort of thing that is for everyone, if they wanted it to be from an early age, that's probably helpful.
Is there there must be like other organisations and you know, groups set up to actually, you know, especially with cost stuff, to actually, you know, I'm trying to think if there was like community groups that go like, well, we as a community group, we can have an allotment, so then every member of our organisation can come and use those 4 plots, kind of thing. So I'm wondering if that can help.
I would imagine that could be quite useful, but again, it's whether those community groups as well are for people who already don't see allotments as their thing. I don't know. That's a really good question though.
What is the most successful thing you've cropped this year?
I've yielded.
Yielded?
I did really well with my purple broccoli. My strawberries did really well for like 2 weeks. That was intoxicating. That was like, yeah, I'm winning at strawberries.
I find strawberries, when they go, they really go. Like they don't stop, and you have to like constantly pick them.
Yeah, but only for like a small period of time. They sort of stopped after 2 weeks.
So we got a good squash here.
Yeah, one good squash.
What? You got a neat little spider in here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, look.
Good spot.
Inside, in the flower. What are you going to do with your squash?
Oh, that'd be in a curry, I imagine.
Do you reckon?
Although last year I did bake them and then put camembert in. That was good, I'll be honest with you. That was luxurious.
What did you do, just cut, scoop and camembert it up?
Cut, scoop, bake, and then once it was ready, like the camembert in to melt. Oh, easy and so good.
So what is your weeding process? Because obviously you know, like we said at the beginning, everyone's like, no, let it grow, let it all grow. But obviously, like in a patch like this, you can't.
No, I mean, I'm obviously organic, so I won't ever lay chemicals down. I just chucked some cardboard down, which does suppress weed growth for a while in patches that you're not using. It's just a lot of sort of pulling and time really, and then composting the weeds. It is the more laborious way of doing things, but I would much rather be doing that than chucking chemicals in the ground. Yeah. You can convince yourself that it's kind of meditative as well sometimes. You like to stick a podcast on or like listen to an audiobook and just like in the sun do a bit of weed pulling. It's quite nice.
It is, and I guess this is where it comes down to like you've got your food and you're connected to it because you've put that graft and work into it, haven't you? Like,
yeah, true.
You know, for example, like your courgettes, we're like, well, I've grown them, but I've also taken away the thistles or dandelions growing around them to really put that work in.
Let them breathe.
Let them breathe. Give them some nutrients back.
This allotment site does run lots of events that are open to non-allotment holders.
Oh, that's really cool.
So they do try and invite people in. Yeah, so like they've had like tree planting, wildflower meadow sowing. They've got like a living, they've been planting like butternut squash all along the kind of fence where there's a footpath.
Nice.
So again, that's sort of to create more free food for people that need it.
Yeah,
but also anybody can get involved and have a day planting with the allotments if they fancy it. And
that's really cool.
So they've created a really open and welcoming space.
That's really nice. I think that's the change really, isn't it? That's the starting point. You've got to be open and welcoming.
Yeah, I know people that have got council allotments that are a bit sort of like, ooh, who are you? And, you know, a slightly more sort of protective sounding community of, well, I don't recognise you, get off our patch.
So the
I don't
council
feel
just
like
put
here, which
this
is really
up in it?
Yeah, so sometimes they have yoga in here, sometimes they have meals. There's
this
all sorts of
is
events, really.
So cool. What a great
Weed
little space
workshops.
to kind of, yeah, to like I love these pallet tables.
Yeah, and you can kind of shelter when it rains.
Yeah,
So-
if you're down here and there's a bit of a
Some people
shower.
get a kebab from the kebabi on the bridge over there and then bring it here after the. It's great. Yeah.
This is really nice though, and I think that, like, yeah, this kind of goes on to our point, isn't it? If you want more inclusion into a space that could otherwise be seen as a bit one type of person, then it's having this free use. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, you know, even if you're not a member of the allotment, you can come down here and
Have a picnic if you like.
have a
at the
picnic and
tables,
just walk around and look at the allotments and
see the colours.
yeah, exactly. Sail away, sail away.
I didn't know where you were going, and that was excellent.
Do you ever have those moments? Enya moments?
Probably, yeah. I don't think I've
Is
ever
yours the allotment?
I've never tagged them as an Enya moment, but I imagine I do. Yeah.
I urge you now, like
start
you'll be using the
identifying
phrase
them.
"rich be richin'."
The rich be richin'. I love it. It's so good. So good.
The thing is, also, you know exactly what that means by that phrase, don't you?
Needs no explanation.
If someone told
you
you-
basically said it once, and I was like,
I know what you
that's
mean.
now going to become like a real big part of my.
When someone says
Language.
like, "Oh, well, Rishi Sunak's opened up, 150 new oil fields," you go, "Yep,
Rich be richin'.
Like that's it, and you go, "Yeah." It basically means
it
that,
is. We know.
being a bit of a James Blunt.
It's a great phrase.
But yeah, find your Enya moment
Find my Enya moments.
on the allotment, and when you do have
That
it,
is probably where I get them, to be fair, just pottering around.
what would be your Enya song though?
Do you know what? I don't know them well enough to like pull one out of the top of my head.
Oh, you do.
Do I? I'd recognise them,
Oracle Flow.
but you say the words and like the tune's not coming to mind.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to sing them for me, is what I'm saying.
Well, there's the Sail Away. The Sail Away. Sail
Yeah, that's very
away.
peaceful. I could see that on like
They're
a
all
gentle
very,
wind
like-
blown.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they're stress relievers. They don't make you riled
Yeah.
up. No one's ever moshed to an Enya song.
I think that sounds like a challenge.
If anyone's moshed to an Enya, I want to hear from you. What's going on in your
I
life?
don't. Stay
No,
away.
I want to hear from you at a distance via email, maybe. What do you make from your veg usually? What's your? Because you said at the beginning, like you grow it because it gives you that more. I don't know. I don't want to use the word rooted because I feel like I'm punning.
I think it's correct though.
All right. So it gives you a more rooted feel to your food.
Right. What do I make with my veg? Anything and everything. Looking at the table in front of you, you've got your
Right, we're on
kale.
Saturday morning brunch.
This is hello. I'm. Is it James Martin?
I think so.
I'm the new James Martin. So like I've given you, you've got some kale there. I'll wilt
Yep.
that into anything that's going. Loads of curries, like hot rice salads, that kind of thing. The green beans, although they're not green beans, the purple beans,
Yes.
as I've mentioned before, I slice them really thinly while they're raw, and I put them in coleslaw, and it's so good. I like
So
make
with
coleslaw.
cabbage,
Cabbage, no onion. I
No, you don't put
can't eat
onion.
onion anyway.
You can't eat it.
No, doesn't do my guts any favours. A lot of people are intolerant to onion, actually. It's very inflammatory. But it's everywhere, so it's quite hard to avoid.
Because literally every recipe starts with grab an onion.
Yeah, see, I don't.
Yeah, you skip that bit.
Well, skip stage one. But yeah, slice them up, and then you put them in with some white wine vinegar, some mayo, and some whole grain mustard. And it's so good.
Nice.
Really
Okay, I'm
nice.
making that.
And then they're also really good in stir fry. And the same with the courgette. You can just do tons of courgette in stir fry, or make courgette. Or I did try something nice the other day, which was like you kind of slice it down the middle, and then sort of pan fried it, the sort of the cut bit down in coconut oil.
Ooh.
And then I flipped them back over, and I kind of sprinkled salt, pepper, and lemon on, and then I sort of served them with bits of feta and pine nuts on. And I basically saw it on Instagram and was like, "That looks so bougie. That is the coolest looking courgette I've ever seen." So I made that. That was great.
Pan fried courgette.
Yeah, and now I'm just getting tons of courgette recipes. I do like a good pickle.
Do you
Yeah.
pickle?
I pickle.
Emma, do you
I pickle, I jam, I preserve, I chutney.
Chutney. That's middle class. Always will be.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. I had loads of rhubarb last year, so I made rhubarb chutney.
Did you?
That was with dates though, so that was bougie.
Ooh.
Rhubarb and date. It's quite sweet. It was sort of Christmas pudding vibes.
Nice.
But then also last year I had tons of blight in my tomatoes, so they didn't get to redden. So I made loads of green tomato chutney, and that was so good.
Oh, that's nice.
Really sharp, great with cheese.
I think with my hoard here, I'm going to do shallow fried kale.
Ooh, nice.
So salt, oil, and then fry that. I'm going to do diced, chopped up courgette in like 5 spice. And
That sounds delicious.
yeah, just like 5 spice and oil. And then the cucumber, I'm going to dice with some tomatoes I've got to make like a little
Side
I
salad.
might put an onion in.
That's up to you.
But you're not eating it.
I won't be there.
But
I would, however, like a picture.
you'll get a picture. Don't comment on the onion.
Okay. I'll hold myself back.
Thanks again for listening, nerds. As always, if you enjoyed the show, please give us a review on whatever platform you're listening on. And if you'd like to support Into the Wild, you can do so at www.ko-fi.com/IntoTheWildPod. And if you're not already, do check us out on social media, Into the Wild Podcast on Instagram and Into the Wild Pod on Twitter. Until then, we'll see you on the next episode.